Hey folks, welcome back to Chris Wine Africa here on the Indaba Africa channel, part of the Indaba Broadcasting Network. On Thursday, the 11th of February, 2021, we're waiting for the State of the Nation address by South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa, giving us an update on what he believes to be the current situation and the future prospects for the Republic of South Africa. Well, thanks for tuning in with me. I appreciate it. Lots of options for you, lots of choices for you to make right now about who you can watch, what you can watch for this. So hopefully we'll get a good stream going here, and I'm waiting for them to come up. At the moment, he's not speaking. We do see that he is supposed to go live here shortly. So let me just check on a few things here very quickly. We're looking okay on that side. So excellent. Let me just touch base on a couple things I want to do really quickly there. Okay. All right, good deal. So let me close this, give myself a few more resources there just to make sure we don't run into any problems. How's it going? Rose Wheeler, more taxes, the corrupt are broke. You are correct on that, Rose. I think we will see that. Lovely avatar, by the way. Hey, Beaver, welcome back. Teresa Bauman's here. Olaf is here. Matilda Becker. Wow, we have 12 people watching and like 6 have commented. That's a pretty high ratio of those who are here. Thank you for your devotion to the channel. Whoops, sorry. Oops, a little bit of noise there in the background. Love your shirt. Well, thank you. That hasn't come up on my screen yet. There it is, Monas. It's a Stormers jersey. There you go. Thank you very much. I'm a Stormers fan, so thought I'd wear that today. And I've got here, of course, a Springbok scarf. Thought I'd wear that because it's South Africa. By the way, folks, while we're waiting, hey, Tonic. People often asking me about my publications and things like that and books. And the book project we just finished for that uber expensive book that costs $160 because it's academic from Stellenbosch. This was the previous book that I did. It's called Building Partner Capacity in Africa, Keys to Success. You'll notice my name right there at the bottom as an author, right there. Building Partner Capacity in Africa, Keys to Success. This was published by the U.S. Army War College's press. There you go, folks. U.S. Army War College Press. An effort by the Strategic Studies Institute. And this was published in, 2017, I think it was. Let me just double check on the date of this puppy. Yeah, August 2017. So a little over 3 years ago is when I was published in this book, and then just recently published in another book. So just made me think about that when people were asking about books. Stormers, yes. Yep. You're a Stormers fan too, Monas. Okay, cool. Excellent. So that's what it is. My loyal audience are Stormers fans. The Brew, who's a Sharks fan, isn't here. Good evening, Magda. Good evening, Andre. Listen, as long as we get a good feed coming in, it'll be worthwhile for you guys to tune in on this because on other channels which have such huge audiences, you're not going to be able to actually follow the chat if you want to follow the chat because it'll just go so fast. We'll have a much smaller audience here, so we'll get a chance. Right. Let me see what's going on now. Trying to see if they've loaded up. They have this nonsense ahead of the stream here, so... Let's see, David Grobler's here. Good to see you again. Let's take a look at this really quickly here and see if anything's actually going on.
Deputy President.
Oh, he started. Okay, here we go. Got to get him up. Oh, wait. Is that right? Hang on. It looks like he's starting. God bless it. Trust Cyril to get it wrong. Is this live? It sure is. Here we go, folks. He's on already.
Deputy Chief Justice, Zondo, and all esteemed members of the judiciary, ministers,
what's going on here?
And deputy ministers,
sorry folks, it's not coming out for some reason.
Premiers of our provinces, members of the National Assembly,
there we go.
Speakers from the various legislatures, members of the National Council of Provinces, the Dean of the European Union region representing the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests and members and fellow South Africans.
Started early.
On this day, 31 years ago, President Nelson Mandela walked out of the gates of Victor Verster prison, a free person, a living embodiment of the resilience and courage of the people of South Africa. His release signaled great hope of better things to come, it actually signaled that the freedom of the people of South Africa was nigh. For nearly 40 million years, an extraordinary ecosystem has existed here at the southernmost tip of our continent. The fynbos, which stretches across the Cape, has among the most distinctive features of any plants that are found on our earth. It can adapt to dry and hot
Feedback
summers
is coming from the source, not my microphone.
cold and rainy winters. It is wondrous in its diversity. Our national flower, the protea, is a species of the fynbos. When I opened the third National Investment Conference last year, I spoke of the protea's unique properties that in so many ways resembles our national character as South Africans. What is most unique and special about the fynbos that we find plentiful here in the Western Cape is that to be sustainable and to survive, the fynbos needs fire. At least once every 20 years, the fynbos must burn at extremely high temperatures to allow the ecosystem to be rejuvenated and to grow afresh.
So into the river go the minorities.
Throughout the summer, the burnt foliage of the fynbos lies desolate, but when the autumn rains return, the seeds explode and germinate, and its life cycle begins all over again. And it displays the splendor and the beauty that we often see when we look at the beautiful sights of the Western Cape. The mountains bloom with new life as plants which once seemed lost and dead grow back even stronger than ever before. We, the people of South Africa,
Must burn it down.
have over the past year experienced a terrible tragedy and hardship.
Yes, that would be arson in the Free State.
Like a wildfire that sweeps across the mountains and the mountainous ranges of our country, where the fynbos grows, a deadly pandemic has swept across the world, leaving devastation in its path.
ANC governance, that's the pandemic.
And yet, like the hardy fynbos of our native land, we too have proven to be resilient in many, many ways.
You're very effective at stealing when there's nothing to steal.
For 3 centuries, we were victims as a people of oppression, dispossession, and injustice. And for 3 centuries, we resisted this.
Wow.
The flames
Racist
of
much?
injustice may have scarred us, but they did not consume us
We.
or
Who is
destroy
we?
us. The rains of democracy brought rejuvenation to our country, and they also brought the birth of a new nation. We have risen time and time again from the depths of darkness to herald a new dawn and a new day. As we look on the grave damage that this disease, coronavirus, has caused, we know that, like the fynbos, like all those who have walked this land before us, we will rise again. Nearly a year has passed since South Africa saw the first case of the novel coronavirus, COVID-19. Since then, nearly 1.5 million people in our country are known to have been infected with the virus.
Well, at least you got that correct.
More than 45,000 people are known to have died. Beyond these statistics lies a human story of tragedy and a human story of pain. There is no family, no community in our land, and no place of work that has not lost someone they knew, someone they worked with,
Cover your nose.
and someone that they loved. It is also a story of courage and resilience. The resilience of the hospital worker who day after day, night after night, goes to work to save lives,
and doesn't get paid
knowing
properly.
that they themselves are at risk of infection. It is a wonderful account of the courage of the police officer, the soldier, the essential worker,
Who murdered
the
Collins Gosa,
caregiver, and
the
all
soldier.
those on the front line who have kept our country safe, our people fed, and our economy going.
Hashtag no confidence vote.
It
Oh, please.
is
Virtue
a story
signaling.
of solidarity, and it is also a story of compassion, of a nation that has stood together to confront COVID-19
Stood together.
in ways not seen since the early days of our
Tourism
democracy.
Equity Fund doesn't stay
Along
together.
the way, as we were struggling with this virus, yes,
Farm murders
mistakes
don't
were
stand
made.
together.
Yes, there was a lot of criticism, and it continues. But the fact of the matter is, we, the people of South Africa, have in the main stood together
No, you
to
haven't.
fight this common enemy.
You're the one that said white people by nature are racist. You're so full of it.
More than anything else, this crisis has revealed the true character
Of you.
of our remarkable nation.
Of the ANC's racism.
It has revealed a spirit of the people who refused to be defeated by a virus.
Refused to be defeated by the
It is
ANC.
this South African spirit that must drive our resolve to build a new and more equal economy and a better and more just society.
A new economy. Ah,
The
racism.
year ahead must be a time for change, for progress, and also for rebirth. It must be a year in which we rise as a people and we do things that are going to make us rise. This is no
Resign.
ordinary year, and this is no ordinary State of the Nation address. I
No,
will
it's not.
therefore focus this evening on the foremost overriding priorities that we have for 2021.
Destroy the country. Number one.
There are not many,
Racism. Number
but they
two.
are focused. First, we
Pilfers,
must
number
defeat the coronavirus pandemic.
Not going to
That
happen.
is primary in everything that we have to do as a nation.
How?
And
You have no
second,
vaccine. No money.
We must accelerate our economic recovery.
What recovery?
Third, we must implement economic reforms to create sustainable jobs and drive inclusive growth.
Ah.
And finally, and not leaving many other things aside, but these are the key ones. And finally, we must fight corruption
Oh,
and
please.
strengthen the state
No
that has
credibility.
been weakened.
No credibility whatsoever. You've been in office
In
for
the
4
coming
years.
weeks, we will address other important elements of the government's program for the year as we move on.
Wah, 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 wah,
Fundamental
wah.
to our nation's recovery is an unrelenting and comprehensive response to overcome the virus.
The word is
South
unrelenting.
Africa has just emerged from the second wave of infections since COVID-19 arrived in our shores in March of last year. Driven by a new variant of the virus, this second wave was more severe and it cost many more lives than the first wave.
Kind of like the ANC.
Nevertheless, the human cost could have been far greater had we not moved quickly to restrict movement as well as activity, had we not prepared our health facilities
You didn't.
and had South Africans not observed the basic protocols of health, the devastation caused by the virus could have been far, far worse.
They did, and they wandered around the townships.
This year, we must do everything in our means to contain and overcome the pandemic.
Oh, please.
This means intensifying our prevention, all the prevention efforts, and strengthening our health system. It also means that we must undertake a massive vaccination program to save lives and dramatically reduce infections across the entire population.
And steal money.
Earlier this week, we were informed that one of the vaccines that we had procured, the AstraZeneca vaccine, offers minimal protection from mild to moderate infection by the new variant known as 501Y.V2. This is according to early findings of a study by our scientists and researchers. We applaud these scientists, and we really have outstanding scientists in our country. We applaud them for leading this research and providing new evidence that is vital for guiding our response to this pandemic. Since this variant is now the dominant variant in our country, these findings have significant implications for the pace, the design, as well as the sequencing of our vaccination program. While it should not delay the start of the vaccination program by much, it will affect the choice of vaccines and the manner of their deployment. The first phase of our vaccination program, which is targeted at health and other frontline workers, will now use the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which has been shown to be effective against 501Y.
American.
We have secured 9 million doses of Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The first batch of some 80,000 doses will arrive in the country next week. Further consignments will arrive over the next 4 weeks, totaling 500,000 Johnson & Johnson vaccines.
For 58 million people. Okay.
All provinces have already rolled out their plans to enable the first vaccines to be administered. The Deputy President, David Mabuza, is leading an interministerial
future president
committee
when you're sacked
that is overseeing this massive rollout. I wish to thank our provinces for their level of preparedness for this massive undertaking that we are about to embark upon.
Indeed. So much money to steal.
In addition, we have secured 12 million vaccines from the COVAX facility. This will be
Where are they?
complementing other vaccines that are available to South Africa through the African Union's Acquisition Task Team facility that we set up.
Another
Pfizer
theft machine.
has committed 20 million vaccine doses, commencing with deliveries at the end of the first quarter. We are continuing our engagement with all vaccine manufacturers.
It's about damn time.
To ensure that we secure sufficient quantities of vaccines that are suitable for our conditions in terms of the variant that we have
for
here.
your homegrown virus.
The health and safety of our people remains our paramount concern.
That would be the black
All
folks
medication
only.
imported in South Africa are
Actually, the
monitored,
cadres.
they are evaluated, they are investigated and inspected and registered by the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. We will continue to use the science-driven approach that has served us so well since the earliest days of the pandemic. The success of the vaccination program will rely on active collaboration between all sectors of society. We are greatly encouraged by the active involvement of business, labor, health, industry players, as well as medical aid schemes, and in particular, in preparing for the mass vaccination drive that they've been involved in. As we have overcome before, we will overcome this challenge once again, and we will rise. But it is not just this disease that we must defeat. We must overcome poverty, hunger, joblessness, and the inequality in our country. We must overcome a legacy of exclusion and dispossession that continues to impoverish our people and which this pandemic has severely worsened.
Wow.
When I delivered the State of the Nation address in this house last year,
You are such an idiot.
none of us could have imagined how within a matter of weeks our country and our world would have changed so dramatically. Our plans had to be adapted in response to a global emergency.
John
The
Galt.
budgets that we had crafted had to be reprioritized, and many programs that we had as government in our various departments, including in our provinces and our local government structures, had to be deferred. Over the past year, South Africa has experienced a sharp decline in growth and a significant increase in the unemployment.
So many theft opportunities lost,
Poverty
eh?
is on the rise, inequality is deepening. In the third quarter of 2020, our economy was 6% smaller than it was in the last quarter of 2019.
It's a lot more than 6%.
There were 1.7 million fewer people employed in the third quarter of 2020 than there were in the first quarter before the pandemic struck. Our unemployment rate now stands at a staggering 30.8%.
Lies. 70%.
As a result of the relief measures that we implemented and the phased reopening of the economy, we expect to see a strong recovery in employment by the end of the year. As we work to contain the spread of the virus, we also had to take extraordinary measures to support ordinary South Africans. We also had to assist businesses that were in distress and
Only
protect
black-owned
people's
businesses.
livelihoods.
Only black-owned businesses.
The social and economic relief package that we introduced in April of last year is by any accounts the largest intervention of its kind in the history of our country.
Well, just take away all your
It
theft.
identified measures worth a total of 500 billion, or about 10% of our GDP.
Where is it?
To provide cash directly to the poorest households, to provide wage support to workers, and to provide various forms of relief to struggling businesses.
Welcome to serfdom.
This had never been done in the history of our country.
Nah, because no idiots led the country that way
A total
before.
of 18 million people, or close to 1/3 of our population, received additional grant payments through these relief measures.
Welfare.
It is estimated that this grant lifted more than 5 million people above the food poverty line, helping to alleviate hunger in a moment of great
So why are
distress
kids eating
and
grass in the Eastern
To
Cape?
date, more than 57 billion in wage support has been paid to over 4.5 million workers through the special UIF TERF scheme. More than 1.3 billion has been provided in support, mainly for small and medium enterprises.
Monis, that's because he's
In
reading it for the
addition,
first time. He's
Over
never seen this
70
information.
billion rand in tax relief was extended to businesses in distress. Around 18 billion rand in loans have been approved for 13,000 businesses through the loan guarantee scheme that we put together.
Majority black-owned businesses
To
only.
fellow South Africans, it is nearly 4 months since I stood here before the joint sitting of this parliament
And lied to you last
to
time.
present to the nation the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan.
Racist act.
This evening, we stand here not to make promises,
But to steal more.
but to report on the progress in the implementation of the recovery plan,
To pretend that all is well.
and also the priority actions that we need to take to restore growth and to create jobs.
Remove the ANC, problem solved.
Since the launch of the plan, we have focused on 4 priority interventions:
Stealing.
a massive
Demonizing.
rollout of infrastructure throughout the country, a massive increase in local production, an employment stimulus to create jobs and support livelihoods, and the rapid expansion of our energy generation capacity. We announced
Load shedding.
we would be embarking on a massive rollout of infrastructure throughout the country. We knew that to achieve this objective,
He's
we
delusional.
would need to steadily rebuild the
He's
technical
delusional.
skills within government to prepare and to manage large infrastructure projects.
Oh, like
These were
ASCOM?
skills that had been lost over time.
Yeah, because they're in France
We have
and
now
England.
developed an infrastructure investment program or project pipeline that is worth 340 billion rand
Good
in
question,
network
Gina.
industries such as energy, water, transport, as well as telecommunications.
Well, of course, telecommunications too.
Construction has already started,
Woo!
and progress is being made
Progress!
on a number of these
A
projects.
number of these projects.
Since the announcement of the Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, we have launched 2 major human settlement projects that will provide homes to almost 68,000 households.
Notice how he has to
here
focus
in-
to
in
read because he
Gauteng.
doesn't know it.
Well, not here in Gauteng, in the north.
Because he's reading his speech he
Similar
doesn't know.
human
Here in
settlements
Gauteng.
Projects are planned all over the country in a number of other provinces. 2 years ago, I spoke about the dream of building new cities that will enable us to make a decisive break with apartheid special development.
Oh, dear God.
Many people laughed.
With good reason.
Many scoffed the idea
Of course.
new post-apartheid cities are being conceptualized in a number of places
Yes.
in our country.
Where
in a number of
minorities need not
provinces.
live.
The Lanseria Smart City, the first new city to be built in a democratic South Africa, is now a reality in the making. The draft master plan for this smart city, which will become
Smart city.
home to between 350,000 to 500,000 people within the next decade, was completed in November 2020 and is now out for public comment.
Well, we don't have a comment.
This is reality.
This
It
is
happening
bullshit.
as we
This
speak.
is bullshit. Complete
And
bullshit.
we now have a number of local government structures cooperating.
Stealing the
build
resources
this
together.
city. Progress is being made.
Progress is being
Several
made.
major water infrastructure projects.
Water,
These
jugular.
include phase 2 of the Mokolo and Crocodile River project.
Oh, speak of the
and
crocodile.
The Nkomazi water project
Nkomazi.
as well. The infrastructure investment plan identifies roads and projects worth 19 billion rand covering the spine of the South African road network. Work is underway to finalize project finance and structuring for these projects. Resources have been committed from
By
the
whom?
fiscus to support the construction and rehabilitation of the major N1, N2, and N3 highways.
Oh, okay, I see.
These infrastructure projects will lead to the revival
Yes.
of our construction industry and
Okay.
the creation of much needed jobs.
By giving contracts to Chinese
The
companies.
100 billion infrastructure fund is now in full operation.
Yes, we're
This
looting
fund
every
will
day.
Blend resources
A
from the
billion.
fiscus
A billion.
and financing
A billion
from the
rand.
private sector and development institutions. Its approved project pipeline for 2021 is varied and includes projects such as student housing infrastructure, which aims to provide 300,000 student beds. Another approved project is SA Connect, a program to roll out broadband to schools, hospitals, police stations, and other government facilities.
Who's paying for the broadband?
The second priority
houses.
intervention of the recovery plan is to support the massive increase in local production and to make South African exports globally competitive.
By stopping alcohol transport.
This will encourage greater investment by the private sector
Nope.
in productive activity.
Nope.
And key to this plan is the renewed commitment from government, business, and organized labor to buy locally made products. And we've always been talking about localization.
Then kick the
And
Chinese out of your
saying
textile
We
industry.
encourage South Africans to buy local, to ensure that even what you wear, like the suit I'm wearing tonight, is locally made by
I
South
doubt
African
that
workers.
highly.
This commitment
He's
should
applauded
lead
for
to
buying a local
increased
suit.
local production, which will lead to the revival of our manufacturing industry, which will lead to the employment of more and more of our people. If many of us men buy the suits that are made locally, more workers will be employed in the factories that make this suit.
Duh!
All social partners who participated in the development of the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan as part of our social compact
Man.
have agreed to work together to reduce our reliance on imports by 20% over the next 5 years.
This isn't
They
Wakanda, it's
identified
Kakanda.
42 products ranging from edible oils to furniture to fruit concentrates,
Edible
to
oils.
personal protective equipment, steel products,
Keep
and
reading
green
the
economy
teleprompter.
inputs that can be sourced locally, because
How?
if we
When you've driven
focus
farmers
our
out of business.
mind on buying local, entrepreneurs will start making them.
Entrepreneurs? What the hell's an
And
entrepreneur?
entrepreneurs will start exporting them and competing with the rest of the world. But it should start here at home with us.
Is an entrepreneur an
If
entrepreneur?
we achieve our target, we will significantly expand
massacre.
our productive economy, potentially returning more than 200 billion rand to the country's annual output. Last year, we undertook to create a larger market for small business and designate 1,000 locally
Designate?
produced
Is that
products
designate?
that must be procured from small, medium enterprises.
Black owned.
As the
only.
COVID-19 pandemic forced the closure of global value chains, we have been able to speed up the initiative as the local supply chains become more open for locally manufactured products.
Oh my God.
To this end, Cabinet approved
God.
the Small Medium Enterprise Focused Localization Policy
Racist.
Framework, which identified 1,000 products. Furthermore, the Department of Small Business Development and Trade and Industry and Competition are supporting small and medium enterprises to access larger domestic and international markets.
Country that can't keep the
I've
lights
been
on.
very impressed with the work that these two departments have been doing.
Impressed? Well, your threshold's
These
low.
efforts are supported by robust manufacturing support programs. In the State of the Nation address last year, I said that our vision for industrialization is underpinned by sector master plans to rejuvenate and grow key industries. Four
This is
master
all such
plans
horse manure.
that have been completed
Oh God.
and signed to date which are part of the social compact between labor, business, and government and communities, have already had an impact in their respective industries.
Oh my gosh.
Through the
I'm going to start doing my taxes while I listen to this.
Master Plan, and remember, our poultry industry was under a lot of stress. What the poultry industry needed was to have a master plan.
No, protectionism is what they needed.
Should have been arrived at, and it did happen.
Protectionist.
On a compact basis. Now we're seeing progress in that industry.
No,
the
you
industry
see stagnation.
Now invested 800 million rand to upgrade production. South Africa now produces an additional 1 million chickens every week. Now that is great progress.
Oh, yes.
The Sugar Master Plan was signed during the lockdown with a commitment from large users of sugar to procure at least 80% of their sugar needs from local growers.
Oh my God.
Now, through the implementation of the plan last year, we saw a rise in local production and a decline in imported sugar, creating stability for an industry which employs well over 85,000 workers. Support for black small-scale farmers is being stepped up, with a large beverage producer committing to expand their procurement sharply and focusing on the small, medium enterprise producers.
Oh, dear
Now,
God.
since the signing of the clothing, textile, footwear, and leather master plan in November in 2019, the industry has invested more than R500 million to expand local manufacturing facilities, including small, medium enterprises.
By the
We
Chinese.
have worked closely with the auto sector to help it weather the pandemic. By the end of the year, the sector had recovered around 70% of its normal annual production in difficult circumstances. Last week, the Ford Motor Company announced a 16 billion rand investment to expand their manufacturing facility.
That's a lie.
In Tshwane.
They didn't announce a 60 billion rand investment.
Generation Ford Ranger Bakkie,
Now say 15
which
billion
they will
rand.
export around the world to well over 150 countries.
Nope.
Now, this investment will support the growth of around 12 and more small medium enterprises in the automotive component manufacturing,
Oh my God, this guy's
an
delusional.
area in which many black-owned
black-owned!
businesses have never really entered. Now, through this initiative and this investment, we are going to see a number of small medium enterprises, largely in the Pretoria area, Mamelodi, Easterus, and places like that, coming to the fore and becoming active and being productive. Nearly half of the procurement spend on construction of the bulk earthworks and top structure of the Tshwane Special Economic Zone
Wow.
during this phase is expected to be allocated to small medium enterprises, and I was told that it will be some 200 medium enterprises, and the value
You were told.
could well be something like 1.7 billion
Oh,
rand
just
in
make some
procurement
shit up out of our
opportunities.
ass.
Toyota has invested in their KwaZulu-Natal facility to start production of the first generation hybrid electric vehicles
Please.
to come off a South African assembly line.
He's had enough.
Now, this follows investment announcements by
Taking all his
Nissan,
shit with him.
Mercedes-Benz, and Isuzu in expanded
Isuzu, not
production
Isuzu.
facilities, all of which cement South Africa's position as a global player in auto manufacturing.
You're not.
and
You're a
the
niche
biggest
player
on the
at best.
African continent.
A global player, you're delusional.
This year, our focus will be on getting the industry back to full production,
Don't you need electricity for industry?
implementing the Black Industrialist Fund, and working on a new platform for expanded auto trade with the rest of the continent. Now, a number of countries on our continent are already setting up their own auto manufacturing plants. But they are going to be relying on South Africa to supply them with various components and a whole lot of other products that go into building cars.
Morocco,
Now, this
Ghana,
will be the
and Rwanda
part
are
of
not
our
sourcing parts from
concerted
South
effort
Africa, you liar.
to boost our manufacturing sector, which has been going down. This year, we will begin to harness the opportunities presented by the African Continental Free Trade Area, which came into
agreement,
operation
dipshit,
on the
not
1st
area.
of January, following the adoption of the Johannesburg Declaration by the African Union. The AFCFTA provides a platform for South African businesses to expand into markets across the continent and for South Africa to position herself as a gateway to the continent, to address the deep
That ship
inequalities
has sailed
in our society.
30 years ago.
We must accelerate the implementation of broad-based black economic empowerment policies on ownership, on control and management of our economy. That is a policy that must be implemented, and there is no reversal on that policy whatsoever.
Racist!
Last year, government agreed to landmark deals with companies that will advance black economic empowerment
Racist
by
companies.
transferring ownership to their workers. In November last year, we held our third South African Investment Conference to review the implementation of previous commitments and to generate new investment into our economy.
And nobody showed up.
Even under the difficult economic circumstances, the investment conference managed to raise 108 billion rand in additional investment commitments from a number of investors.
What a liar! What a straight face!
Together with investment commitments confirmed from the two previous investment conferences, we've now received 773 billion in investment commitments towards our 5-year target of 1.2 trillion rand. This is phenomenally successful.
These are lies. These are
Firms
absolute
have
lies.
reported
Commitments mean nothing.
That some 183 billion of these investments has already flowed into projects that benefit the South African economy.
Wow.
This shows that our country is still an attractive investment destination for both local and offshore companies.
Absolutely delusional.
We have worked to facilitate investment by increasing the ease of doing business, including by making it easier to start a business. This is one area that had slipped backwards.
Oh my God.
And we've been doing quite a lot of work to ensure that the ease of doing business is boosted so that investors, business people can easily come to our country, set up companies, and start business.
You're delusional,
In the past
Cyril.
year, more than 125,000 new companies have been registered through the BIS portal platform, completing their registration in just a matter of hours from the comfort of their homes or their offices.
Wow.
And now it happens just like that, in a flash. We are making it easier for business to do business. Our third priority intervention is an employment stimulus to create jobs and to support livelihoods. The largest number of jobs obviously will be created by the private sector.
For the black people
in a
only.
number of industries as the economy recovers. So the private sector remains the primary and the biggest creator of jobs.
But will
And it
still
is for this
steal from the
reason
parastatals.
that we've embarked on massive reforms so that the private sector can continue investing in our country. We continue to work in a social compact with the private sector to create more conducive environments for them to be able to create jobs. Our compact with the private sector is underpinned by a clear commitment to grow our economy and to create jobs. However, the public sector also has a responsibility to stimulate job creation, both through its policies and through direct job creation opportunities.
Insanity.
The presidential employment stimulus is one of the most significant expansions of public and social employment in South Africa's history.
You are delusional.
By the end of January 2021, over 430,000 opportunities have already been supported through the stimulus. Now, a further 180,000 opportunities are currently in the recruitment process. These opportunities are in areas like education, the arts, film, and so forth, and culture, global business services, early childhood development, and small-scale and subsistence farming. It also involves environmental programs such as the clearing of alien trees, the wetland rehabilitation, fire protection and prevention, as well as cleaning and greening across our municipalities.
Wow. People are hungry,
These
Dingus.
programs are about real lives and real livelihoods. Nearly 500,000 people are now receiving an income, developing new skills, and contributing to their community and to the country's economy.
And the 1.7 million that lost
no
jobs?
small feat. It means something is being done.
No, it's
We
bullshit.
will continue to support employment for as long as it is necessary while the labor market recovers, even as we work to promote stronger and more resilient growth in the private sector. So we see a symbiotic relationship between the public sector and the private sector. The private sector will create the greatest bulk of jobs. But at the same time, at the public sector level, it is essential that, yes, we also focus on what happens in our schools, what happens on the social economy side, and all these matters are being attended to. In the State of the Nation address last year, in response to the huge challenge our country faces with regards to youth unemployment, I announced that the National Youth Development Agency and the Department of Small Business Development would provide grant funding and business support to 1,000 young entrepreneurs within 100 days. While the program had to be put on hold due to the coronavirus, it nevertheless managed to reach its target of 1,000 youth businesses by International Youth Day on the 12th of August 2020.
So impressive,
we
Cyril.
applaud the young people of our country who are running this program. This provides a firm foundation for our efforts to support 15,000 startups
Look what I
by
came across.
2024. Last year, we said we would establish a national pathway management network to provide support and opportunities to young people
Prostate
across
ads.
the country. I want to encourage every
appropriate.
young South
Apropos.
African to join the more than 1.2 million people who are already in the network and take their next steps to a better future.
Oh, yes.
On the many hardships, our people had to experience last
Our
year,
people.
schooling disruption placed a huge burden on learners, on teachers, and also on families.
Yes.
Despite
You shut
this,
school down.
They persevered. It is our priority for this year to regain lost time and improve educational outcomes from the early years through to high school and post-school education and training. The fourth priority that I'd like to talk about of the recovery plan is the rapidly
How do we
to
get to
rapidly
fourth?
expand energy generation capacity in our country.
What, like
Now,
ESCOM?
restoring ESCOM to operational and financial health and accelerating its reconstruction process is central to the work that we have to do. ESCOM has been restructured into 3 separate entities for generation, transmission, and distribution. This will lay the foundation for an efficient, modern, and competitive energy system.
Easier to
in
steal
South
and more
Africa.
patronage jobs.
ESCOM is making substantial
Dr. Mulder.
progress with its intensive maintenance and operational excellence programs to improve the reliability of its coal fleet. We are working closely with ESCOM on proposal to improve its financial position, to manage its debt, and reduce its dependence on the fiscus. This requires a review of the tariff path to ensure that it reflects all the reasonable costs and measures to resolve the problem of municipal debt as well. In December 2020, government and its social partners signed the historic ESCOM Social Compact, which outlines the necessary actions we must take collectively and as individual constituencies to meet the country's energy needs now and into the future.
There will be maglev trains.
Over the last year, we have taken action to urgently and substantially increase generation capacity
Geosynchronous
in addition to
space
what
elevators.
ESCOM generates. The Department of Mineral Resources and Energy will soon be announcing the successful bids for 2,000 megawatts of emergency power that our country needs.
Emergency power.
The necessary regulations have been amended and the requirements clarified for municipalities to buy power from independent power producers.
You think he believes any of this
Systems
bullshit?
are being put in place to support qualifying municipalities. Government will soon be initiating the procurement of an additional 11,800 megawatts of power from renewable energy,
Don't believe it.
natural gas, battery storage, and coal in
Fusion.
line with the integrated resource plan
Cold
of
fusion.
2019.
You don't believe in cold fusion, Bob Jumbo, do you?
Despite this work, ESCOM estimates that without additional capacity,
Or money from the
there
state.
will be an electricity supply shortfall of between 4,000 and 6,000 megawatts over the next
Will
5
be?
years.
Well, if they just fixed their
As our
stations,
old
they'd have plenty of
coal-fired
power.
Power stations reach the end of their life. As part of the measures to address this shortfall, we will, in the coming weeks, issue a request for proposals for 2,600 megawatts from wind and solar energy as part of bid window 5. This will be followed by another bid window in August of 2021. Now, recent analysis suggests that easing licensing requirements for new embedded generation projects could unlock up to 5,000 megawatts of additional capacity and also help to ease the impact of load shedding.
He probably thinks he's actually
We will
intelligent.
therefore amend Schedule 2 of the Electricity Regulation Act within the next 3 months to increase the licensing threshold for embedded generation.
Frickin' train
This
seals.
will include consultation amongst key role players on the level at which the new threshold should be set and the finalization of the necessary enabling frameworks. ESCOM has already started work to expedite its commercial and technical processes
God, this is painful.
to allow this additional capacity onto the grid within undue delays.
I'm regretting
There have
this.
been complaints that the time that they take to process these has been far too long. It's now been agreed that they are going to do it much quicker.
Yes, because we've
As we
agreed, so it'll be
mobilize
much
all
quicker.
the resources at our disposal to support economic recovery, we cannot lose sight of the threat that climate change poses to
Ooh,
our
climate
environmental
change.
health, socio-economic development, and economic growth. We are therefore working to fulfill our commitments under the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Paris Agreement, which include the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. ESCOM, our largest greenhouse gas emitter, has committed in principle to net zero emission by 2050 and to increase its renewable capacity. So ESCOM will be looking to partner with investors to repurpose and to repower part of its coal fleet.
Net zero.
This will be done in a way that
85% of its power comes from coal-fired stations, doofus.
will also stimulate local economic activity as well as local manufacturing
Oh my God.
as part of the just transition.
This is
that
worse
will
than
need to
hemorrhoids.
Take care of the people who work in those power stations, the people who work in the towns where power stations reside. Our work on climate change will be guided by the Presidential Coordinating Commission on Climate Change, which is meeting for the first time
Patronage jobs.
this month.
Ooh,
The
more patronage
Commission
jobs.
will work on a plan for a just transition to a low-carbon economy and climate-resilient society. We will not achieve higher rates of growth and employment if we do not implement structural economic reforms.
Here it comes.
These reforms are necessary to reduce costs and barriers to entry into our economy. They are necessary also to increase competition, to stimulate new investment. They are also necessary to create space for new entrants into the market. This work is being driven through Operation Vulindlela, which involves a team of National Treasury and the President's Office. Operation Vulindlela is focusing on reforms in the electricity, water, telecommunications, and transport sectors, as well as reforms to our visa and immigration regime.
What?
The completion
So the
of
Chinese can come in
digital
without visas?
migration is vital to our ability to effectively harness the enormous opportunities that are presented by technological change that is just going on around the world. After many delays, we will begin the phased switch off of our analog TV transmitters from next month.
Oh.
It is
Why are
anticipated
you applauding?
that this process,
What a bunch
which
of
will be
idiots.
done province by province, will be completed by the end of March in 2022. The process for the licensing of high-speed spectrum is at an advanced stage. We hope that the ongoing litigation amongst interested parties on the licensing matter will provide certainty and will not unduly delay the spectrum auction process that we've decided on.
Wow.
In the water sector, we are working through Operation Vulindlela to ensure
Vulindlela?
that water licenses are finalized within the revised time frame of 90 days and to revive the green drop and blue drop programs to strengthen water quality monitoring in our country. Now, we will finalize and implement the revised raw water pricing strategy and accelerate the establishment of a National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency.
Wow.
I firmly believe that if we really do want to resolve our water challenges, we need an agency that will be focused just on ensuring that water is treated with the importance and the sensitivity that it requires.
More patronage.
Many of our people are struggling. They cry out for water on an ongoing basis.
Quit living in
Now,
deserts.
Establishing a water agency will be one of the better ways to resolve these challenges so that the agency can have a globular look at the water needs of the country and address those challenges. Our ability to compete in global markets depends on the efficiency of our ports and rail network. We are repositioning Durban as the hub port for the Southern Hemisphere and developing Ngqura as the container terminal of choice. The rail corridor from Gauteng is being extended to enable the export of vehicles through Port Elizabeth. These are crucial steps to move freight from road to rail and increase the competitiveness of the rail system in our country. Now, work is underway.
There's no competitive. It's all owned by the government. Transnet, moron.
Regime to
competitive
skills and to grow the tourism sector. As international travel starts to recover in the wake of COVID-19, we will undertake a full rollout of e-visas to visitors from China, India, Nigeria, Kenya, and 10 other countries in the world. Now, the revised list of critical skills will be published for public comment by the Department of Home Affairs within 1 week to ensure that the final version reflects the skills that are needed by our economy. This, too, has taken far too long to be done, but it is now going to be done. The momentum that Operation Vulindlela has already built and the support that it has received across government shows that we are serious about reform. We will continue to work relentlessly and without pause to create a more modern, a more efficient and competitive economy that is more open to all South Africans. Now, to support our reform process, the Presidential State-Owned Enterprise Council has outlined a clear set of reforms that will enable these vital public companies to fulfill their mandate for growth and development. Overarching legislation for state-owned enterprises will be tabled in Cabinet this financial year and Parliament in the next financial year. A centralized SOE model is being implemented this financial year, which will ensure a standardized governance, financial management, and operational performance framework for all our SOEs.
Oh, God.
The mandates of all SOEs are being re-evaluated to ensure that they are responsive to the country's needs and the implementation of the National Development Plan. In the midst of the economic damage caused by COVID-19, South Africa's agricultural sector has performed remarkably well.
Even though you burned
In 2020,
looted.
we became the world's second largest exporter of citrus, with strong export growth in wine, in maize, in nuts, in deciduous fruit, and in sugarcane.
Maize is not a citrus
Now,
fruit.
the favorable weather conditions in 2020 and the beginning of the 2021 mean that agriculture is likely to grow in the near term. This provides an opportunity for further public-private partnerships in the agricultural sector to promote transformation and to ensure sustainable growth. It is an opportunity to accelerate land redistribution through a variety of instruments, such as land restitution, expropriation of land, in order to boost agricultural output. To date, government has redistributed over 5 million hectares of land, totaling around 5,500 farms, to more than 300,000 beneficiaries. This is in addition to the land restitution process, which has benefited over 2 million land claimants and resulted in the transfer of 2.7 million hectares of land. We are also pursuing programs to assist smallholder and emerging farmers with market access to develop skills across
Liar.
the entire
Frickin'
agricultural
liar.
value chain.
Non-existent.
And to increase the number of commercial black farmers as well. During the course of the next financial year, we will establish a land and agrarian reform agency to fast-track land reform. The public service is at the coalface of government, and lack of professionalism does not just impact service delivery, it also dents public confidence. Now, advancing honesty, ethics, and integrity in the public service is critical if we are to build a capable state. Now, through the National School of Government, we continue to roll out courses and training programs to government officials, from entry level to senior management and to the executive. In October last year, I signed off on ministerial performance agreements with all ministers, which have now been published online. This will enhance accountability and focus performance by members of the executive. We remain on course to build a capable and professional civil service that delivers on its mandate and is accountable to the people of South Africa. We are proceeding with our efforts to strengthen local government infrastructure and accelerate service delivery through the district development model. The model brings all spheres of government to focus on key priorities and implementation of critical high-impact projects. Working with both public and private sector partners, government is implementing a range of measures to support municipalities to address inadequate and inconsistent service delivery in areas such as water provision, infrastructure build, maintenance. We are also focusing on the appointment of properly qualified officials at local level to ensure effective management and provision of services.
So will that include
In
minorities?
some municipalities, we have often found that less than well-qualified people have been appointed, and all they ever do is to mess up. Now we are saying the days of messing up are now over. We want professional people to run our local government. As we prepare for local government elections, which are due to take place this year, we will need to adjust to the conditions forced upon us by COVID-19, so that we can ensure that the people of this country can determine who represents them at the crucial level of government. So, fellow South Africans, corruption is one of the greatest impediments to the country's growth and development. The revelations from the Zondo Commission of Inquiry lay bare the extent of state capture and related corruption.
And you've done nothing in 4 years.
Testimony of the Commission has shown how the criminal justice system was compromised and weakened. It is therefore vital that we sustain the momentum of rebuilding that we have begun through the past 3 years. There has been great progress in turning around law enforcement bodies.
Who's been prosecuted?
Critical leadership
Who's been
positions
charged? Who's been fired?
have been filled with capable, experienced, and trustworthy professionals.
You're full of it.
There is improved cooperation and sharing of resources between the respective law enforcement agencies, enabling more integrated approach to investigations and prosecutions. We have started the implementation of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, which lays the basis for a comprehensive and integrated society-wide response to corruption. We will shortly be appointing the members of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council, which is a multi-sectoral body that will oversee initial implementation of the strategy and the establishment of an independent statutory and anti-corruption body that will report to this Parliament. To this Parliament. Not to the executive, but to this Parliament, to all of you sitting here.
John Steenhuisen.
I
can't believe what they're saying.
Started to surface last
Fraud.
year about possible fraud and corruption in the procurement of
Look in the mirror.
COVID-related goods and services, we acted with speed and decisively to put a stop to these practices, to investigate all allegations, to act against those responsible. We established the Fusion Center, which brings together key law enforcement agencies to share information and resources. Now, this Fusion Center has brought many cases to trial and preserved or recovered.
What cases?
Millions of rands in public
Who?
funds.
Zuma?
The Special Investigating
Guptas?
Unit was authorized to investigate allegations of unlawful conduct with respect to COVID procurement by all state bodies during the national state of disaster. As it reported last week,
Oh my God.
the SIU has finalized investigations into 164 contracts with a total value of 3.5
Loves the sound
billion
of his own
rand.
voice.
In a significant advance to transparency and accountability, the Political Party Funding Act will come into operation on the 1st of April of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, so now the dark money
Well, you
can
don't
fund
seem
your
to
party.
be very excited about this.
Ah, because we
Now
know what
going
it
to happen.
is.
This will regulate public and private funding of political parties. Among other things, it requires the disclosure of donations to parties and establishes two funds that will enable represented political parties to undertake their programs. Crime and violence continues to undermine people's sense of safety and security. Tackling crime is central to the
Well, he
success
dumped that topic
of our
fast.
recovery.
They're all
Crimes
talking
like
under his breath.
cable theft, railway infrastructure vandalizing, land invasion, construction sites disruptions, and attacks on trucks hamper economic activity and discourages investment. We are taking steps.
About farm
and will
murders.
Continue to take steps to stop these crimes and to deal with those responsible in terms of the law.
But we'll allow the syndicates to continue to
Task
murder
teams have been
farmers and their
set
children.
up in a number of provinces to deal with extortion and violence on sites of economic activity. We are also fast-tracking the implementation and capacitation of the Border Management Agency to curb illegal immigration and cross-border crime. That is now going to happen.
No, it's not.
Ending gender-based violence is
Of course.
imperative if we lay claim to being a society that is rooted in equality and non-sexism.
But you're not. Your society rooted
When
in
I launched the
racism.
National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide in April last year, I made a promise to the women and children of our country that
Which you
we
failed to
were
deliver on.
going to strengthen the criminal justice system to prevent them being traumatized again and to ensure that perpetrators face justice. Now, to give effect to this, 3 key pieces of legislation were introduced in Parliament last year to make the criminal justice system much more effective in combating gender-based violence. To ensure that perpetrators are brought to book, we are making progress in reducing the backlog of gender-based violence cases. We continue to provide care and support to survivors of gender-based violence. In the State of the Nation address last year, I said that we would prioritize the economic empowerment of women. Last year, Cabinet approved a policy that 40% of public procurement should go to women-owned businesses and entities. Now, several departments in government have started implementing this policy and are making a great deal of progress. Last week, we also launched a groundbreaking private sector-led GBVF response fund.
Oh, God.
Several South African companies and global philanthropies made pledges to the value of 128 million rand to assist in the fight against gender-based violence. Now, that was unprecedented. Over the next 3 years, government will allocate approximately 12 billion rand to implement the various components of the National Strategic Plan. Gender-based violence will only end when everyone takes responsibility for doing so in their homes, in their communities, in their workplaces, and in their places of worship, and in our centers of learning, schools, universities, and colleges. Equally, we need to give attention to issues affecting children, including improving school readiness, ECD planning, and funding protection against preventable diseases, policy reform around child welfare and reducing violence against children. In the year ahead, we are also going to forge ahead with efforts to provide greater opportunities to persons with disabilities to participate in the economy and in society in general. As we rebuild our economy in the midst of this pandemic, it is necessary that we continue within our means to provide support to those businesses and individuals that continue to be most affected. Businesses in several sectors are still struggling, and many families continue to suffer as the job market slowly recovers.
Because you've destroyed the economy.
Over the last few months, we have had ongoing discussions with our social partners in business, in labor, and community-based organization on the proposed extension of some of the social and economic support measures. We have therefore decided to extend the period for the special COVID-19 grant of 350 by a further 3 months. This has proven to be an effective and efficient short-term measure to reduce the immediate impact on the livelihoods of poor South Africans who are out of work.
Wow.
We've also decided to extend the COVID-19 TERS benefit until the 15th of March 2021, only for those sectors that have not been able to open or to operate. The conditions for this extension and the sectors to be included will be announced after consultation with the social partners.
$23 a month.
The National Treasury will work with its
effective.
partners and stakeholders on improvements that we believe now need to take place to the loan guarantee scheme
Scheme is the right
we
word.
inaugurated when we announced the 500 billion rand distress relief package. Now, this is better addressed through the discussions that will be had, but we also wanted to address the realities of small, medium enterprises and other businesses as they strive to recover. So that scheme needs to be recrafted, repositioned, and the Minister of Finance will deal with the matter.
Ryan, it's not Wakanda, it's Kakanda.
Now, we will work with our social partners to ensure that these and other interventions provide the relief to those who need it most. Now, fellow South Africans, just as a harsh fire gives new life to our country's
He's coming back to his
This crisis
Terrible.
is an opportunity
To
to build a
eliminate
different
minorities.
and a better South Africa.
Minus all the minorities.
Rebuilding our country requires a common effort.
Get rid of the ANC.
It
That's the effort.
requires that every South African takes responsibility
To get rid of
and
the
plays
ANC.
their part.
To vote against the ANC.
Let us work together as
remove the
government,
ANC.
as business, as labor, as political parties, and all of society to clear away the rubble and lay a new foundation as we rebuild our country.
Oh, God. Is this it finally?
Above all, let us return this country to the values upon which it was founded.
Yeah, what was
On
that?
the day of his release 31 years ago, Madiba gave his first public address here in Cape Town, where he reminded South Africans that there were difficult days that lay ahead,
Yeah.
and that the battle was far from won. Madiba said, "Now is the time to intensify the struggle on all fronts.
Yes.
To relax our efforts now would be a mistake which generations to come will not be able to forgive." Close quotes. In counting the great cost to our society over the past year, we may be tempted to lose faith. But we can get through this because we are a nation that never gives up. We are a nation that is never defeated. We are a nation of heroes right across the country. I'm referring not to the glorious lineage of struggle icons, but to the everyday heroes that walk amongst us, who work hard every day to put food on the table of their homes, to keep the company running,
Oh, dear
and to
God.
give support, help, and
Wah,
care
wah,
to
wah.
our people.
Wah, 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 wah.
It
Wah,
is
wah, wah, wah,
your
wah.
resilience that will help this country recover. In addition to the many challenges that beset our people, we have heard that His Majesty King Goodwill Zwelithini has not been well in recent days, and he has had to be admitted to hospital.
Didn't hear
I
about
wish
that.
to convey my wishes for speedy recovery of His Majesty King Zwelithini. Our thoughts and prayers are with the royal household and the Zulu nation at this difficult time that the king is going through. It is our collective wish that Isilo Samabandla wonke is soon restored to good health. As we prepare for the difficult path that lies ahead, we can draw strength from Maya Angelou's great poem,
Oh,
I
my God.
Rise.
Yeah,
And
geez.
she writes, out of the hearts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling. I bear in the tide, leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave.
I rise.
I am the dream and the hope of the slave.
I
I
rise.
rise, I rise, and I rise. Close
You're
quotes.
full of shit. You're full of shit. You're all of
Now,
shit.
people of South Africa, it is your country that calls on you to rise. Let us march forward together to equality, to growth,
Racial
to
exclusion,
dignity,
hatred,
and to recover.
arson, murder,
May God
political
continue to
assassination.
bless and protect our beautiful country, and also to protect her sons and daughters. I thank you.
Long live President Ramaphosa!
Oh, shut up! Sycophant! Long live the North Korean leader! Sing Heil! Sing Heil!
Long live President
Hey,
Long
thank
live!
you very much.
Shut up!
Testing aim bombs.
Yeah.
Thank the Honorable the President.
Long live the chair! Long live!
Good riddance. Good riddance, Ramaphosa.
Having thanked the President, I also
Goodbye.
wish to indicate that after I adjourn the joint sitting, members who are in the chamber should remain at their places.
That's enough of
The
that.
procession has left the chamber. The procession, adhering to social distancing and led by the acting sergeant at arms and the usher, will leave the chamber.
Dear God, that was painful. Oh, man, I need to go to the clinic because I've got hemorrhoids now. Wow. Well, folks, there's a lot to unpack there, but bottom line is that our people, we, transformation, historically oppressed. What the hell is he talking about? And a reference to the Finbots? There were no black Bantu African people in the Finbots. And he's referring to the, must have a strong fire every 20 years to burn it all down. Wow. It's kind of like the Redwoods. Wow, the Finbots. But he renamed the Finbots. I have to learn how to pronounce it properly. Apparently, I didn't know that it's called the Feinboss. It's the Feinboss. So I guess I learned something today. It's not the Finboss, it's the Feinboss. Wow. We will continue to rely on the science-driven decision-making that has served us so well from the start. Are you delusional? Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. Cyril Ramaphosa, you are delusional, my friend. Wow. Well, what do we get from this? A bunch of cuck. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cuckunda. That's right, Cuckunda. Speech made me delighted that removing my wisdom teeth by myself. Yeah, that's what it felt like, removing your wisdom teeth. Let me do the intro here, proper intro. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area we call the Twilight Zone. Rod Serling said it very well as he introduced the Twilight Zone all those decades ago on television. We have entered into the Twilight Zone. Wow. So let me ask a question here very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Did I miss something? But is it not true that Cyril told us that the government has appropriated 5 million hectares of farmland in South Africa, of which they've given to 5,500 farmers, which affected 300,000 beneficiaries. So 300,000 black South Africans have been relocated on rural farmland over the past 26 years, apparently. They have settled 2 million hectares of land. 2 million land claimants have been beneficiaries of 2.7 million hectares of land. So why are we expropriating land if they're doing it so well and so efficiently? What needs to be done? Do we not see the idiocy in their comments there? They claim that they can't get it done. What we do know from all of this, ladies and gentlemen, is that there will be a creation of multiple new agencies for patronage. That's right. A water agency, the need for a national water agency. Apparently that can't be handled by the folks responsible for it now. So you must create a new agency with new patronage positions for the cadres. And that wasn't the only one. The Land and Agrarian Reform Agency will be also created because apparently the people responsible for it can't be trusted to accomplish land reform, even though they've done 5 million hectares. 2 million claimants have been beneficiaries, 300,000 beneficiaries on 5,500 farms. Do you see the bullshit piling up here? How can you tell us you need an agency when you've just told us you've been so successful, yet you claim you haven't been successful? Wow. Open to all South Africans. You notice it started ringing the bell. That was every time a racist comment was made. Yep, every time he went to race. Wow, folks, wow. And talk about the deep, deep snows of bullshit going on here, ladies and gentlemen. Cyril Ramaphosa claiming that $108 billion of foreign direct investment commitments have been made. Those would be empty, unfulfilled promises. 3 years into his foreign direct investment campaign, in which he targeted $100 billion of foreign money from suckers to pour into South Africa, only $12.5 billion has actually arrived on the shores of South Africa. That would be carry the 1, take away the 0, add 1, use Common Core mathematics. Hang on, it take me 20 minutes with Common Core. Move this over here, move that over there. Okay, is this a racist mathematical equation? Okay, no, Common Core, yeah, okay. That would be 12.5% of what he promised in a 5-year plan, which he's now 60% through. 60% of the time, 12% of the desired goal, yet he sits there and lies to us and tells us there's been $773 billion in combined commitments. $183 billion is already benefit Rand, it's already benefit South Africans. He claimed that South Africa's ease of doing business is improved in that it's a place to do business. Yet South Africa ranks 83rd in the world for ease of business. 83rd. That's not competitive. That's not even remotely competitive. Next door in Botswana, things are far more competitive for starting a business or doing business there. And he has an energy policy, folks. Let's start with his 4 big lies at the outset. Here are the 4 big lies that he talked about. And he talked about it a little bit. He said going to defeat COVID-19. That's the first priority. Yep. And then they're going to ensure economic recovery. Then they're going to ensure reform for sustainable jobs and removing inequitable growth. And fourth was his fight corruption. Yes. And he talked about energy. As well. This from a country where you can't even turn the lights on. You see in South Africa, folks, candles have replaced light bulbs. While the rest of the world is electrifying and improving the quality of human condition, before COVID-19 that is, South Africa has gone the opposite direction by decommissioning coal-fired power stations in order to conform to this ludicrous Paris Climate Accord, while they let the Chinese pollute at will, the world's largest carbon emisser with over 30% of the world's carbon emissions coming out of China. Double that of the United States, whose economy is double the size of China. Our economy is twice as big as China's. Yet they have double the emissions. If their economy was the size of ours, they would have 4 times. They would be at least 60% of the world's emissions if they were that large. So this fantastical, comical Paris Climate Accord, they decommission coal-fired power plants. Then they spend trillions of rand building new power plants that have empty apartment buildings for workers that never work there and do not work. Billions of dollars later, do not work. Decades later. Yet we're supposed to believe his energy policy is going to make, this is a country that can't even provide enough electricity to run the mines. This is absolute insanity, nonsensical BS. But this is what Cyril Ramaphosa brings to us. He brings to us more bullshit that we're supposed to believe. Wow. Oh, by the way, here, ESCOM has committed to being net zero in emissions by the year 2050. ESCOM can't deliver 60% of its generating capacity on a daily basis. Over 40% of its generating capacity is disabled through negligence and lack of strategic vision. Imagine that. South Africa can generate nearly 60 megawatts of power, but can only deliver 40 plus at a given moment. Why? Because they don't maintain their generators, their power plants. And they shut others down. Wow, but ESCOM is going to be net zero. Yeah, ESCOM, ladies and gentlemen, I agree. I will predict, along with Cyril Ramaphosa, that ESCOM will be net zero in emissions by the year 2050. Do you know why? Because it won't exist. There will be no ESCOM in 2050. South Africa's going to be freezing their ass off in the wintertime and sweating their buns off in the summertime. The mines will be dug by hand. People will be using donkeys and horses to transport from place to place. Of course, ESCOM will reach net zero by 2050 because it will go out of existence. Wow. Whew, boy, I'll tell you, man, I don't know what to say here. Black industrial fun. Rang the bell for that one. Talking about broad-based black economic empowerment. Yep. Oh, and did you hear the applause when he announced that we'll be turning off the analog television and radio broadcast? People applauded that. Why? There are a lot of poor people in South Africa who still have analog radios, analog television sets, cathode ray tube television sets that are 20 or 30 years old. And that's how they get the news. That's how they watch TV when they have electricity, if they don't have to sit on a bicycle out front and generate the electricity. And you're going to turn off the analog and you're excited. You cheer that? Why would you cheer that? The whole argument about having a state-run media operation like South African Broadcasting Corporation is to bring that to the public. Public who can't afford digital. And you're going to take away the analog broadcast. And you're excited about it. Yes, analog has to go away at some point. But why would you clap that? Do you see how disconnected the cadres are without even realizing that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of South Africans still rely on analog communications for news, for television, for radio. And you're cheering that by March of 2021, it will be turned off. Wow. You disconnected, moronic, selfish, elite slime balls. You actually applauded that. Disgraceful. Disgraceful. Wow. Talked about the National School of Government. Well, that wasn't scary at all. Educating the government. Oh, where's it at? Where's it at? I got to find this here. The days of messing up are over. Wow, that articulate sentence. The days. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have determined the threshold in the African National Congress. The party reaches the boiling point. When the frog boils and realizes he's boiling, 27 years of messing up before the ANC wakes up. The days of messing up are over in Kakanda. I'm going to change the name from Azania to Kakanda. Now South Africa is Kakanda. There you go, folks. I've renamed the country here today, Kakanda. I'm sorry to South Africans who are proud in your country and take patriotism in it. But if you take pride in this nonsense, we all have to have a little conversation. We must all become Fynbos farmers. That's right, out there collecting flowers and municipal herbs and plants to give the pharmaceutical companies owned by the government to produce pharmaceuticals to ship to China. And screw South Africans. Lanseria, the new post-apartheid city, Tenderville on steroids. Yep. Cock down under. No, it's Kakanda. Pretty soon we will all be sitting on exercise bikes, generating our own power to watch television, power the stove, no more comfy couches. Yep. The ass end of Africa. Ooh, I hadn't thought about that. Azolia. Yeah, there you go. How he butchered the poem, Black Sea, not Blue Sea. Yeah, I saw that. Black Sea. What the hell was that? Was that a faux pas? Was that a Freudian slip? What was going on there? Today, South Africa's economy is smaller than that of Pakistan. Pakistan is larger. Can you imagine it? Can you imagine that? Wow. Yes, the Fynbos is the white folks, and the fire is to destroy them, and the coloreds. Yep, absolutely. Nice fairy tale. Could have done half an hour. Could have done it in 5 minutes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to replay the entire presentation by Cyril Ramaphosa. Our people have been oppressed for centuries by evil white people and their offspring, the coloreds, and they are racist, and we must eliminate them from society. Therefore, we will continue to create black-only empowerment schemes, black investment only, and we will continue to racially discriminate against whites and their evil offspring, the coloreds. That's what they get for mixing with the Khoi and with the San. So shame on them. And we will create new agencies to provide jobs to my friends and family. For water, for land and agrarian reform. I will now butcher Maya Angelou's vile poem. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. There is the entire speech in its entireness. The entirety. That's it. That's everything he had to say right there. That's everything he had to say, folks. South Africa is effed. Get the government and the DA and both minorities into power. Are the electrical wires being stolen, or does Eskom have trouble getting fuel for the plants? Tony, Eskom has all kinds of problems, not the least of which is a corrupt board, corrupt directors, misappropriation of funds, the fact that it's owned by a state and not profit-driven by shareholders. It doesn't respond to anybody except the ANC, and it doesn't respond to them particularly well. Yep. Right. What have I missed here? I'm exiling myself and staff to Mauritius. Well, Mauritius is not a bad opportunity. It's a multiracial society that's based on capitalism, and people have opportunity there. It's small, though, and it's an island, so you've got that to contend with. But hey, the Germans always used to say Namibia isn't the a-hole of Africa, but it is so close you can smell it. Our scholars realized they were talking about South Africa. Indeed, they were. Who is the blonde woman shaking her head back and forth? I think you're talking about Natasha Mazone from the Democratic Alliance, who was sitting behind John Steenhuisen. Yep. Talking about no power. We had no electricity for 10 hours today, says Vutu de Vos. Well, 10 hours. Yet ESCOM will bring you net zero emissions by the year 2050. I think that they'll be able to achieve that in 2021, given that they're not providing any electricity to anybody. So how would they have any emissions? Feels like negative 40 degrees Celsius here. Crystal clear skies, blinding white snow. You must be in Alberta, Tony. Yep. Mary Duplessis says she hates ANC. Well, I don't blame you. I don't like angry, naughty children either. They need to be disciplined. It's called demodernization, Chris, regression. Well, thank you, Yongama Ntobangwana. Good to see you back at the channel again, man. Pleasure having you here before. We got lots of dislikes. Hey, listen, folks, we're over 100 viewers. Can we push up the likes? Because, I mean, I know people dislike it, but I mean, I appreciate that you just like that this was, Cyril Ramaphosa's, bullshit hour. But give me some likes on the video. I mean, I think you're getting some decent feedback here, right? Getting some analysis. Chicken. Oh, yeah, chickens. South Africa's producing 1 million additional chickens a day. Woo! Look at that. Look at that. South Africa's highly inefficient, fractured poultry market is apparently gaining ground only because the ANC introduced protectionism and demonized the Americans who shipped efficient, inexpensive, healthy, nutritious chicken to South Africa cheaper than South Africans could grow it themselves. And they were accused of dumping on the marketplace. Now, what happened is that South American chicken producers who can't sell feet and chicken livers and things like that to Americans who, by and large, don't eat those parts of chickens, discovered that those were popular in South Africa. And so they began to ship it to South Africa. And they did so efficiently. And it came into the marketplace, in an open marketplace, only to hear South Africa's chicken producers whine, "Oh, unfair, we have competition." And so the ANC sought to block chicken imports from the United States by imposing 75% duties and then trying to increase it to 150% duty. The Obama administration, in a rare act of actual foreign policy, engaged and said, no, if you do that, we'll suspend you from the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, because that is an artificial tariff meant to protect your local industry and discriminate against importers. Wow, the Obama administration actually did something. Now, I don't have any empathy for South Africa's chicken producers. If you want to produce chicken for your market, then do it effectively and efficiently. Yep, I want to meet the guy who carved such a long speech on the slate. Yeah, that's a good one. Forgot about the mega cities the CCP is coming to build in Limpopo. No, I didn't forget about it. I just want to talk about it. How to hack a stone engraving from the USA coming up soon. No emissions by 2050 because the power stations won't last that long. Exactly. GM did the right thing. Government is useless. Yeah, General Motors left South Africa. What about Heineken and SAB canceling their foreign direct investments? He heralds Ford's foreign direct investment, then he lies about how much it is. Ford agreed to commit 15 billion rand to renovate a facility to produce Ford Rangers for export around the world. That's an existing facility. It creates virtually no new jobs. There'll be a few new jobs created in the production line for the Ranger, but that's it. And it is $1.1 billion, not 60 billion rand. That's a lie. It's a lie. Chinese love chicken feet. Yes, they do. So do Africans. So do Africans. KFC for the cadre. That's why he mentioned the chicken. Streetwise, chicken licking. Got to get that chicken going. Well, also, folks, South Africa, which has massive problems of illegal immigration and visa overstay and fraudulent documentation, with at least 5 million illegal aliens in South Africa. So what does Cyril Ramaphosa do? Well, we're gonna make it even easier for people to come in. We're going to issue e-visas now to China, India, Nigeria, and 10 other countries that South Africans don't want in their country. Why? Why e-visas to China? On the basis of what? To accomplish what? To take more jobs from South Africans? I love the buy local BS. The ANC's ran this country for 27 years into the ground. When the ANC took over South Africa wasn't part of the General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs, GATT, because of apartheid. They weren't part of that. They weren't part of the World Trade Organization, which succeeded GATT because that came after 1994. So South Africa, when the ANC took over, 90% of textiles were produced in South Africa, or 70% of textiles produced in South Africa, and 90% of shoes. Today, it's the opposite. 30% of textiles in South Africa are produced in South Africa. The rest come from Asia. and just 10% of shoes sold in South Africa are made in South Africa. And then this clown gets up and talks about buying local. Buying local? You've driven local out of business. Now, to be fair to South Africa when it comes to textiles, it's not entirely South African, the ANC's fault, because the multi-fiber agreement was one reason that the textile industry continued as long as it did. Now, it doesn't affect the 94, but it does affect from 2000 till about 2007 or 2005 when the multi-fiber agreement disappeared. And when that disappeared, 500,000 textile jobs disappeared from Southern Africa, many of them in Lesotho and South Africa. But that's unrelated. But buy local? Seriously, the suit was bought locally. Yeah, I'd like to see the label. I'd like to talk to the tailor that made it. I'd like to know where the material came from. Was it Pakistani wool? Or Pakistani cotton, I should say, New Zealand wool that was put in your suit there, Cyril? Wow. Wow, this is the best you can give us, South Africa? Wow. Oh, let's not forget climate change. Climate change came up as an important topic for Cyril as well. Yep. Structural economic reforms. Read racist policy to eliminate minorities from business. Yep. What else do we have here? Let's see. I got some other notes. Gender-based violence came up. He promised women. And so his answer to women and gender-based violence is that the government must award 40% of its spending contracts on tenders to female-led businesses. How does that address gender-based violence? It doesn't. It's buying off women, pretending that you give a flip about them. What a bunch of nonsense, folks. Let me see if there's any other hits from the hit parade right here that I missed. Wow. By the way, I had 9 dislikes when this started. So we've gained 4 as it went on. So 9 of those were trolls, not people just angry about what's going on. Yeah. So, for 40 million years, the environment, the ecosystem here developed. We had a unique ecosystem in the Fynbos. 40 million years. Well, there were no Homo sapiens in that area for 40 million years ago. So thanks for sharing that. Who cares about 40 million years ago? It's only been 150,000 years or so since Homo sapiens have been in the region. And 50,000 years since the Khoi and San have been there. Of course, it's been 1,600 years since the Bantu-speaking peoples arrived, and 353 years since the Europeans arrived, who became Africans as well. Wow. Okay, so there's that chart. Let me see what else we got here from Cyril's Fairy Tales. Let me see. Oh, yes. They have, by the way, the state of disaster was announced for 21 days on March 27th of last year. We are now on day 322 of the ANC's unconstitutional lockdown. 9 million Johnson & Johnson virus vaccinations have been procured. 80,000 will be delivered next week. 80,000 vaccinations for 58 million people in South Africa. They're going to get 500,000. And then, as promised, once again, the fictional, mysterious, never going to be delivered 12 million doses from the COVAX scheme created by global southern countries, mostly in Africa, to negotiate to get them vaccine, of which none has been delivered. We keep talking about COVAX. There's none. COVAX didn't develop any vaccine. COVAX didn't test any people. They didn't participate in any trials. COVAX was simply a scheme to negotiate, to bring the power of many to negotiate, which I don't oppose, but they did a piss poor job. 0 doses have been delivered to South Africa under COVAX. AstraZeneca's delivered doses, but apparently it's only 10% effective against the South African, the Azania variant of the COVID virus, the Azania variant, or the Kakanda variant. There you go. The Kakanda variant. Wow. By the way, South Africa will be building new cities where 350 to 500,000 people are living to correct the spatial inequities of apartheid. Okay? How about you focus on fixing the broke-ass cities you already have instead of building new cities? And what exactly is this spatial inequity? Will everybody have tiny little RDP houses under the ANC? Well, I'm looking forward to the town built in the Karoo for 350,000 people, no water, no electricity, and everybody gets a tin shack courtesy of RDP housing. Wow, aren't we all equally miserable? Thank you. How does Cyril talk about we are a black ocean? I have no idea what the hell that was. That just shows you his demonic possession of race. This coming from the president who said that white people, by their nature, are racist. Remember that? That was last year. That's one of the hits coming from him. Now his finance minister claims that white South Africans are racist on the basis of no information whatsoever. Yep. Tito Mbweni had the following to say, which he put into his Twitter account. It seems that to him that it says that South Africa's non-racial dream is not embraced by the majority of white South Africans. Where's your evidence of that? Where do you make that claim from? He says he followed that by saying the majority, not all, of white South Africans seem at face value to still view black people as hewers of wood and drawers of water, equal to servants. No, I don't think they do, Tito Mbweni. I think that you're so full of manure that it's just coming out of all your orifices. There you go. Experimental vaccine were lab rats. Well, Robert, you're not exactly alone. The world is a bunch of lab rats. What do you mean? RDP skyscrapers. Stacking one tin shack on another. Brought to you by the Ministry of Settlements. Human Settlements. Rian Talyard, welcome to you. Pleasure to have you join us here. Nope, came in too late chatting with my brother-in-law about our pending immigration. Well, Vooter, what I'm going to do after this stream at some point is I'm going to download it, and I'm going to edit it. I'm going to take out Cyril Ramaphosa's speech, and I'm going to put this analysis in. But after this, I am going to do a short video to talk about some of the nonsense that Cyril Ramaphosa talked about here. Did he really say sea of blackness? He said black sea. That's what he said, not blue, which is actually what the poem from Maya Angelou. Talk about overrated poet. God, so sick of the fawning praise from Maya Angelou. Her writings were not that impressive. They were good, but they weren't that impressive. Creation jobs, but you have to be black to get a job. Correct. So creation jobs only for black South Africans, not for whites, not for Indians, not for coloreds. Notice how Indians have just disappeared. Asians, unless you're Chinese, have completely disappeared from the landscape in South Africa in the midst of the pandemic. Nobody talks about Indians whatsoever, except me. Nobody. They've just completely disappeared. I have a couple Indian friends who were in business in South Africa whose lives have been totally destroyed by the ANC's lockdown. Their businesses have collapsed. One guy had a business for 25 years, completely gone. Employed 22 black South Africans. Completely folded up and gone. We giggle, we laugh, we're led by morons. Well, take a number, Robert, because we too are led by morons. We are led by race-baiting, racist politicians on this side of the Atlantic, intent on making us all serfs. And this will not continue into perpetuity, folks. People will rise against this at some point. E-visas, hire from overseas, effectively cutting out qualified minorities. Exactly. Well, cutting out all qualified South Africans, to be honest, Mary. They favor Chinese engineers over black South African engineers. Of course, I understand that in some respect, not to denigrate all black engineers because there's some very talented ones, but when the matrix scores 30% to get into university, you could see why the government be a little leery about hiring people under that education system, vice what they can get from China or abroad. I visit my Indian friends regularly, sad situations. Yep, Indian people are most awesome people in South Africa. Well, Cameron, they are pretty cool, but I think lots of South Africans are really cool, but they're just being ignored. No one's talking about Indian South Africans. They've just disappeared off the face of the earth. No attention. The only thing I read about Indian South Africans in the last year is the murder of the 26-year-old woman on the Ayub farm near Veenen, whose throat was slit during a home invasion. They murdered her. She's Indian, 26 years old, 4 months pregnant, 2 kids already. Her throat slit, murdered. And the only other thing we hear is that the big mosque in, the mosque in Durban was burned. That's it. Nothing else about Indians. ANC speech released some strange endorphins. No doubt about it. Will the ANC make Indians now persons in the future? Nope. They'll continue to ignore them. The 1.2 million Indians in South Africa are a footnote they don't care about. They only care about their people, the ANC. And it's not black people. You know, they keep saying black. Every 5 seconds, Cyril Ramaphosa said black power, black broad-based economic empowerment, black this, black that, for black small businesses, black this, black land, black. All he said was black. He doesn't give a crap about black. All he cares about is cadres, most of whom are black, but not all of whom are black. That's all they care about is cadres, folks. And don't be deceived. All they care about are cadres. And if you think they care about something else, you are deluding yourself, ladies and gentlemen. You're absolutely deluding yourself. By the way, just a quick note, I'll talk about this later stream, is that Joe Biden is considering banning people from leaving Florida and traveling in America. I don't think he has the authority to do that. Why? Because Florida is led by a Republican, and Florida has the COVID crisis under control compared to its neighbors in New York and California. So we cannot allow Floridians to flaunt the fraudulent advice from the CDC, the National Institutes of Health, and Dr. Fauci, Dr. Fraud. By the way, where is Dr. Fraud? I haven't heard from him lately. He's not quite the celebrity he thought he'd be. They only liked him because he lied and deceived us during the Trump administration. And now that he's part of the lie and deception, he doesn't really stand out from the crowd. So Dr. Fraud isn't on our TVs every day. Funny how that happened. Don't forget the Cubans. Yes, 470 or 451 million rand spent to bring in Cuban doctors to sit in hotels in Cape Town and do nothing. And then get nominated for a Nobel Prize by the parliament. That's ludicrous. Folks, you have got to defeat the ANC in the municipal elections, which he alluded to as well. You must defeat the ANC. You must defeat the ANC. I don't care if you hate the DA. I'm not a huge fan of the DA. But you must defeat them in the municipal elections and give the cities over to the opposition outright. Outright control. This is your last chance, South Africa. Your last chance. Mary says she's waiting for the National Coronavirus Command Council to stop the elections. I'm waiting for them to try that as well. And if South Africans don't rise up if that happens, then you're all dead in the water. Department of Military Veterans only gave benefits to MK. Really? I have no evidence to that, but I don't doubt it at all. SADF veterans are also veterans, as well as the Trans guy, the Cis guy, and Botswana veterans are all veterans. They should all get payments if veterans are entitled to them. Okay, what else? So I guess we can't ask him to put his hands on the Bible. If ESCOM fails, the country is done. ESCOM has failed. What are you talking about? Tony, they can only deliver 60%. Best case. Usually it's about 55% of their generating capacity in a given moment. That's not normal. A power utility should be able to deliver consistently over 90% of its generation capacity. Consistently. ESCOM doesn't even remotely approach that. It's already dead. It is mandatory to stop the ANC. I agree, Cameron. You must. And people must stop squabbling. People come on my channel and go, oh, the DA. Well, get over it. Change the DA. Join them. Much like the Republican Party, I'm not shilling for the Republican Party. I'm just trying to stop the evil. And you have to have a viable path to defeat the evil. If you think that enough South Africans in Nelson Mandela Bay are going to join the Freedom Front Plus to defeat all the other parties, then vote for them. But I think you're deluding yourself. If you think enough people are going to join Inkatha Freedom Party to win Durban, go ahead. But I think you're deluding yourself. Aishtam. ESCOM should be renamed Aishtam. Well, I don't agree with that. DA will be morally the same as ANC. Well, Erie Ford Truck, I know you hate the DA. So what do you propose? Do you honestly think that after squandering June, July, August, I say June because the lockdown was eased, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, 9 months of time squandered to campaign for the municipal elections. Now we're coming up municipal elections less than 6 months away. So 2/3 of the time has been squandered by all opposition parties. Do you honestly think that in municipal elections, which could easily be won, you're going to win with the African Christian Democratic Party, the United Democratic Movement, the Freedom Front Plus, the Inkatha Freedom Party? You really think anyone other than the DA is going to win Cape Town, Nelson Mandela Bay, Tshwane, Johannesburg, and Durban? Do you think anyone? No, it's not realistic. Erie Ford Trucker, what do you recommend? What do you suggest? I'm all ears, literally, hidden behind this sexy hair. Anyway. Trent Adams, welcome to you. DA must clean with their voters. We don't want career politicians. Well, I agree with you. That's why you need the system reformed at the root. Direct elections, not party lists. That's nonsense. Tony, you're correct. Power plants are just like glass plants where they make glass. You can't just restart those furnaces. It doesn't work. You have furnaces in countries like South Africa and Europe and the U.S. that have been burning for a century. They've never been extinguished. You can't just do glass blowing and start all over again. It doesn't work that way. Have you tamed the beast yet? I agree, Diaz. The beast is having problems, Dietrich Busha. It arrived with one of the RAM cartridges lying inside the computer. I put it back, mounted it properly, and I'm only getting 16 gig of RAM, so half my RAM is missing. I've written to the manufacturer and complained and asked them what the solution is, and they're going to send me another cartridge. Also, there's a couple minor issues that are irritating me, but yes, the beast is up. It's connected to a monitor. I have a new webcam which has arrived. It'll go on there as well as this webcam, but I'm going to install this webcam on that one while I get it up and run it through its paces. I have my Streamlabs installed on there. I have my Microsoft Office installed on there. I have my alternate browsers installed on there. I still need to put security software on it and a number of other features. But the beast is up. It's incredibly fast. It's connected to my Wi-Fi network here in the house. And it is on its way, but it has a few challenges, which frankly are a bit disappointing given what I paid for it, and it was custom built and it got tested. Anyway, we can resolve these problems. Hopefully be solved shortly. I won't go into what the other small problems were. None of them are earth-shattering or show-stopping, but a bit frustrating. Someone needs to research into his suit. Yeah. You must get out and vote. Yes, you must get out and vote. Yep, Logitech is the best. I disagree, Cameron. I have a Logitech 920 CS, which is the top end. I've had it for 8 years, and it's a great camera. But Logitech updated software, and it's shit. This camera frequently hangs up. The software does not process very well, and I get delays between my face moving and my words coming out. Very frustrating. Maybe with my new computer with dedicated video card, that might not be a problem, and I'll go back to liking Logitech, which I've always liked until they updated the software in December. Ever since Microsoft updated my operating system in November, or December, and Logitech updated this, and Streamlabs updated. I've had all kinds of problems and lags and issues with my computer, and I can only do limited things on this computer, which is reasonably advanced. The Beast should overcome all those problems, and maybe I'll like them again. But I will have two webcams, one that will look at me, and one that I'll be setting on the side here that will be used to do presentations and show you maps and as I discuss things. So pretty cool. Good night, Wooter. I'll catch you later. Yep, folks, I'm going to end here. It's 2 hours into this stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back with Night Owls in 40 minutes. I will do a Night Owls edition, probably a truncated one tonight, but tune back in for that, folks. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I appreciate your support for the channel. And I didn't see any new subscribers. That's a shame. I hope we got some more, but none of them showed up in the software. It would be nice if we actually did get new subscribers, but I don't think so. I suspect Ronaldo probably didn't get his 100,000 either because he only had 1,200 people watching. Nobody really wanted to watch this State of the Nation gobbledygook nonsense. So anyway, I'm hoping we got some more subscribers, but I'm not going to hold my breath. And I'll be back in 40 minutes, folks. And there you go. Let's see what else. All right, thanks, guys. I'll catch you guys in a little bit. Appreciate your support. And wow, the State of the Nation address from Cyril Ramaphosa. What a bunch of nonsense. Welcome to Kakanda. Welcome to Kakanda, ladies and gentlemen, home of the Azania variant of the Wuhan coronavirus. Crazy stuff. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. See you shortly here on Chris White Africa.